Hi, I'm Vic Perri and welcome to Face to Face. Tonight my special guest is Margherita Coppolino. How are you? Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Now, give us a bit of your background. Where were you born?
Oh, okay. I was born here in Australia back in the 60s, so that gives you some sort of idea how young I am. And probably more importantly, it's about where my mother migrated from Sicily.
Sicily, Italian background.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the good pastors. And when she migrated on the boat, she fell pregnant out of wedlock. And you know that's
naughty.
Yeah, very naughty it was.
So you were born on the water?
On the water? I think it was a bit of a holiday romance. You know? She reckons it wasn't. Anyway, so she got here, met the father, and the father turned around and said, well, you can't walk around like that. You know, you don't have the husband. So she worked at some machiners and then had me 9 months later and signed the adoption papers and took off. So that started my first 18 years being brought up in an institution with the welfare department in Victoria, and being brought up by nuns. As you see, I don't wear habits, so I'm quite pleased about that. They told me I was too short to be a nun, but anyway.
Oh, they have that sort of requirement. They have height restrictions.
Well, they didn't in those days anyway.
This is like the army, is it?
Oh, it's a bit like that. It was in those days anyway. Not so much now.
What was that like, all that time? What sort of existence was that?
Yeah, well, you've got to remember in those days the orphanages were really big institutions. So I was living with roughly about 250 kids at the one time. And we were in the dormitories in those days. So like the nuns used to come along with their rosary beads like this and get 10 years sleep and they take off and then everybody will get out and take off and go and spy on the nuns and do all that kind of thing. But one of the nuns actually turned around and said that I was a bit of a rebel when I was younger. I think I still am. And she remembered telling me the story about how they used to put lollies up in the right top cupboard so none of the kids could go. This one particular time, they came in and they saw all the kids eating in the dormitory lollies. And they told off the old girls and they said, well, how come they've got lollies? And they said, oh, Margherita got them. I said, well, Margherita can't get up there. There's no way she can get up in those cupboards. I said, well, she did. They said, how? He said, oh, she pulled all the drawers out and climbed.
Of course.
So that was a rebel coming out at a very young age.
And so was this a sort of regimented life at meal times, certain times?
Absolutely.
The whole thing?
Yeah. It was, you know, like 6 o'clock you get up in the morning, you go down, you go to mass and you go, I haven't seen Father. In those days, well, you thought you were good, but... And like, you know, people say, well, would you have preferred a family upbringing? And I said, well, that's all I knew in those days, so...
All right, so you can't compare that.
No,
with
absolutely
anything.
not.
What about your sexuality? When did you sort of feel you had those sort of feelings? And were you able to talk about them to someone?
Oh no, not in the orphans, not with nuns. I mean, they don't talk about things like that.
Because they don't do that sort of stuff.
No. You just every now and then you'll just walk into the bathroom and you might see 2 of them together.
Okay.
It did happen. Yeah, so proof of that.
Well, what age did you think, yes, I feel this attraction to women?
Well, look, you know, it was some of the cases where, you know, like early teens, it was not unusual for girls to sleep with girls and just, you know, but we didn't know that what we were doing at the time was being a lesbian and all that. We just knew that we were showing affection. And it wasn't until about 18, when I turned 18 and left the orphanage, that I can remember one of the locals where I was living said, lesbians and homosexuality. Well, what's that? And they said, come on over here, and I sit down, had a few beers, and they said, well, it's like this. It's where 2 women get together, and 2 men, I'm going, and the blood in my face just drained. I went, my God, is that what I was doing in the orphanage? So that was my way of just realising that that's what was actually happening.
It was
not,
And what about, so how long were you there for?
18 years.
18 years. What did you do when you left?
Well, when I left, I went into a hostel and then started to look for work. Because in those days, I mean, once you were 18, the Department of Welfare never looked after you after 18, so you had to defend for yourself. So I had to learn a whole new level of social skills because, you know, being pretty well locked up, because you were locked up in institutions. So you didn't learn about how to interact with mainstream society.
Right.
So the first couple of years, looking for work was a real battle because the other side of what was happening then is that my disability was really obvious. Being a person with short stature or dwarf, whatever people are comfortable with. The employers in those days were really discriminative and were saying that, well, because you've got a small body, you've got a small mind, so we can't employ you.
So there's a whole different perception that
So all that was
you're not
happening at the
capable
same time. Absolutely.
of doing the jobs that other people
That's
do.
right, yeah.
So when did you realise though that you were different? I mean, were you? Did people talk to you about it, or you just thought, or did you have a hard time in the area?
Look, at the orphanage, the kids gave me a hard time. And I know that around about the age of 8, 9, that's when the kids started to grow up past me. And they said, oh, Marg, you're going to be short for the rest of your life. And I said, oh, rubbish. I'm going to grow up like everybody else. And the welfare department got a family of short-statured people to come in. And I remember the day so clearly that they walked in the foyer and here was mother, father and 3 children, and all were family of short-statured, the whole lot of them. And it was the first time I'd actually seen a mirror, and I was in shock. And I went to the church and sat there in the church and hid. It took me quite some time to sort of go, oh, okay, so that's what it's going to be. That's what I'm going to look like for the rest of my life. So it was a lot easier to come to terms with my disability than my sexuality.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because that's the thing. You've got this double.
That's right. It was.
Thing
It
happening.
was one with the other, and a number of other issues that happened later on.
Well, what about the rest of your family? Is people might be asking, is this genetic? Are your brothers and sisters the same height, or are your parents? What's the situation with your family?
Well, normally in dwarfism, if there's 2 dwarfs, they normally have offsprings of dwarf children. But see, in my situation, because my type of dwarfism is really rare, there's only 5 of my type in the world, and it's just the limbs, it's the body. I'm not in proportion like all other dwarfs are. So my mother and father both were normal height, and my mother was asked at birth if there were any other dwarfs in the family, and she said no, so she knew that I was a dwarf. When the Royal Children's did some research on me much later, they said, well, because my case was so rare, there may not be an offspring.
Oh, okay.
So, and for a while there, they were wondering, because in the 50s, that women were taking drugs during their pregnancy, whether that actually had an impact.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it could be right. Okay. So if you have kids, won't
I
necessarily
would
mean
have
that
them,
they're going
they
to
would
be
be 6 foot and over.
Yeah.
But
Well, what about discrimination? Say in the wider community, we'll get to the queer community, but in the wider community, what sort of discrimination have you faced? And I'm assuming that you have. What are the things that people have done that you would class as discrimination against?
Well, like I said earlier, the first part was the employment. And even though we are employment policies now say that it is illegal to discriminate against people with disability. Back when I was first entering the workforce, there weren't policies at that time. There are still a number of employers out there, even though they've got policies, they've got really bad ways of implementation of policy. Now, the policies is a way that sometimes will safeguard an employer from discriminating. But at the end of the day, you can't prove that an employer said, oh, look, we interviewed everybody else, but you didn't meet the requirements for the job. But you know that employer didn't want to employ you because you were a disability. On that note, you can't actually prove it. Then that's not discrimination.
How do you feel about that when that happens?
Frustrated in the sense that I personally, as a person with a disability, always feel that I have to go that one better. And it would be really nice just to go for an interview and just on merits to say there's anybody else. In fact, one of the ways that I started to get interviews and get jobs was to come up with solutions around, like I knew employers would say, Newlands with this and this and Newlands with this and this and this. So at the end of the interview I said, now you think I'm not going to be able to reach the filing cabinet. Let me tell you how I'm going to do it. So I went into interviews with solutions. And that started to change potential employers.
Because they're probably thinking of all these questions but not actually asking her. So how's she going to do this? How's she going to do that? But too embarrassed to ask because they don't want to offend. But at the end of the day, they'll probably think, well, no, we don't know how she's going to do all these things, so it's not going to happen, so they'll just choose someone else.
Yeah, so for me, it's easier to bring it up and then the issues on the table.
Yeah.
If the employer or potential employer has got some issues, then we've discussed it and we eliminate those issues.
Yeah. Okay. We're watching Face to Face and we'll be back in a minute. And welcome back to Face to Face. I'm Vic Perri and my special guest tonight is Margherita Coppolino. And welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, we were talking about discrimination in the general community.
Yes.
You started to talk about employment. What else? What other areas do you experience or the potential experience of discrimination?
Well, probably the most obvious and the one that's been in the papers at the moment is the one around transport, public transport.
Public transport, yeah.
I mean, that's why I use taxis a lot, because I can't get access to some of the actual public transport are really quite high. Not all of them are actually disability friendly. And I'm finding that sometimes even when I fly, because I fly quite a bit for work, what I have to do, I'll get on and I have to climb up the seat and then stand up the seat and turn around and take a seat down and say, sorry everyone, but just the only way I can do it. The air hostess comes in and says, you right there? I say, yeah, I'm fine, that's all right,
But you would think surely people can be a bit flexible and a bit sensitive to that and think, well, it's no big deal, should it?
Well, it's not. I suppose there's only the odd days where I'll wake up and I'll go, okay, I can't do this, I don't want to go out the door. But there are times where, like, I'm out with friends for dinner, and like when I sit down, I'm quite tall. In fact, I notice when I'm sitting next to you, I'm taller than you. So can you imagine in a restaurant?
That's easy because I'm short. Anyway,
that's all right.
So.
Well, that's fine. There are some advantages, but we can't talk about all the advantages on TV. But what happens at TV, the kneecaps are looking pretty good. But anyway.
So what other areas? Where else, apart from public transport?
Apart from public transport, buying clothes, going for your licence, social outings. This is probably a really good one, particularly with, if you're like me, you do occasionally like to go out and clubbing. Not all venues are accessible, and particularly where you're on the dance floor, and you've got hundreds of people on the dance floor, and like if I want to dance, I end up having to wear a crash helmet because I end up with more elbows and cigarettes and beer over me than anybody else. And I think probably the thing that's, like when we're talking about social events, the clubs, membership clubs are not always accessible for people with disabilities. And having said that, I've just come back from the Gay Games in Sydney. There were only a certain amount of entertainment events that were accessible.
Right.
So I couldn't go to everything because of that.
Well, talking about access to services, now you belong to a group, Access Plus. What's Access Plus all
Access Plus is a group that started in Victoria. What it is a support group for gay and lesbian people with disabilities. And I know that it first got together a couple of years ago. And what was really interesting, that when the group first came together, the majority of the group talked about their disability instead of talking about coming out, about being gay and the issues. So over the last 2 years, there's been a really big shift around people with disabilities, irrespective of disabilities, who have come up against major areas of where they haven't been able to be included in gay events. And they actually have said in a number of occasions where they actually feel that the gay community or the queer community don't actually accept people with disabilities. And there's been evidence of that happening.
What sort of experiences in the queer
probably
community?
A really good example would be that I know a particular gentleman who has a particular disability. He can't speak. It's a physical disability also, and the fact that he likes to go to a men's bar. The first time that he started going out in a men's bar, the bouncers wouldn't let him in because they noticed that he had a disability. And one of the things that they said, oh look, due to our health and safety, we can't let you in here. We've got to be take care.
But what's the issue? What's the problem?
Well, it wasn't. It was just that the bouncer of that particular nightclub was saying that there would be a safety issue if they let him in.
Did they explain what the safety issue was?
No, they just said it was safety. The hotel policy was that they couldn't let him in.
So that sounds suspicious to you? Is that something?
Well, look, at that particular time, and I know the particular venue, and I know the particular gentleman we're talking about. Now, all it would have taken were a few conversations around, well, look, to eliminate that he wouldn't have been on a health and safety issue. And in fact, I know that he was looking at taking the situation to court because that particular nightclub was discriminating against him. And he had every right to be in that particular nightclub.
Well, so what does Access Plus do as a group? Are you involved there? So Access Plus is, I suppose, a representative group. And do you lobby government? Do you, whether it be local or state, about making sure that they do provide services?
Yes, and probably more so now that we're not only about working in the gay community and educating the gay community. We can offer the services where we can get the gay community to say, well, look, the way that you can eliminate discrimination is by doing a disability action plan. We can advise you on how to be, if you were to do an event here, and there was somebody in the audience who was hearing impaired, we would organise a sign interpreter to be here during the interview so that people in the deaf community who are queer could also hear. So we're in a position where we can advise on it, and we're becoming more and more the case now where we are lobbying government around where we're just not part of the disability movement, we're also part of the queer movement. And we want to be heard because there are some people with disabilities in the queer movement who are really struggling to be part of the bee that's going around.
So do you collaborate with, I suppose, being part of the queer community, but do you collaborate with groups in the general community, disability groups, work together with them?
That's a really interesting comment because in the disability movement as a whole, normally when they work with government and get government funded, they normally only work on housing issues, employment issues and education issues. So last year, there were a number of disability organisations that organised the Disability Attitude Conference in Sydney. And one of the things that the Victorian Women with Disability Network and Women with Disabilities Australia organised was a forum on sterilisation. And there are a higher number of women with intellectual disabilities who are still now being illegally sterilised in Australia against their consent. So we organised a forum. We got 16 women Australia-wide to a forum in Sydney and went through a whole workshop with them and talked to them about their experiences. Produced a document, went back to the government and said, well, these women said it happened, you say it didn't happen. We've got proof it did. And from that, our government's starting to realise that they've got to start listening to people with disabilities do have sexual lives. They do have, they want to be able to talk about sexuality. They want to be able to have relationships. They do want to have children. So this whole thing around the IVF legislation also affects women with disabilities.
And that's right, because there's a very good friend of mine who is in a wheelchair, and people look at someone like that and think, well, he's in a wheelchair, so he wouldn't be interested in sex.
That's right.
He thinks about sex all the time, and he wants to do it, and he's got that desire, but any guys at a bar that look at him think, well, he wouldn't be interested, so I wouldn't be interested in, apart from that, the perception of just looking at someone like that. And it's frustrating for him because he wants people to understand that he does have the desire and wants to do it. So how many people, getting back to Access Plus, how many people do you have in the group?
At the moment, we've got about 50, and the group actually fluctuates depending on the issues that we're talking about.
And what sort of range of disabilities?
Right across the board, physical, intellectual, mental health, you name it, we've got it. And a really good section of gender. And in fact, we've even got people who have gone from male to female.
Right, yep.
So, which is really interesting because that's something you would probably not hear of, particularly in the disability movement. But that is the case, you know, where we have got a couple of people who have actually gone through or in the process of going through sex changes.
Right. And what other groups do you collaborate with in the queer community? Do you collaborate with other groups in terms of, for instance, perhaps the rights lobby, lobbying the government to provide appropriate services, that sort of stuff?
I do believe one of our members has had a lot to do with the gay rights lobby group. And I know that's something we were more and more conscious of next year, that we actually want to work a lot more closer with other community organisations in the community. But the hurdle has been getting into venues where they are operating from, because not all the venues where queer organisations operate are accessible.
Right.
Like Midsummer.
Exactly. So these groups think of that, yeah.
That's right. Like the Midsummer, if I want to go and volunteer at the Midsummer office, I can't because it's inaccessible.
So if people want to get in touch to get more information about Access Plus or even join, how can they get in touch?
They can get in touch through me, and I can leave a number with you.
Okay, a number, you don't have a number?
Yes, it's 9370 6983.
And that again?
9370 6983.
Great. Okay, thanks very much. That was really good, Margherita. Thanks very much for coming in. And you've been watching Face to Face, and we'll see you next time.